Okay, I think you should move a little back to the other side again. No, no, now the opposite. Now the opposite. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, hello everybody. Sunday Adelaja here, Kyiv, Ukraine. Fatimo, Foreign, Bumigbero, Tony, Olobayo, Tuli, Basi Intia, Paul Oriade, Raphael, Bashir, Rebecca. Welcome, welcome everyone. We are going to have a very, very interesting, very, very intense period of fellowship with Victor today. One of the most important topics I think that we will ever address, because you know, this is one of the plagues and the troubles or the problems plaguing our beloved nation, Nigeria. Nigeria is suffering because unfortunately the culture there is a culture that does not give room to development. And one of this culture that does not give room to development is what we are going to be addressing today, is the culture of silence. So how did you come across this culture of silence, and how did you become aware of it? And did you become aware of it in Nigeria? Because when I was in Nigeria, I was not aware of it, for example. I was just thinking everything is okay. I've always believed that Nigeria has one of the most dynamic press and media in the world, and I think they do when it comes to media. But then when it comes to the everyday life with the people of the land, I've discovered that especially in the church, I think it is even more of a culture in the church nowadays than in the culture itself. Maybe the culture too, but the culture of silence, or the plague of silence. That's what we are going to be talking about with you today. Yeah, when did you first realize it that we are in trouble?
Well, I think for me it became clearer during my university days.
In Europe or in Nigeria?
In Europe. In Nigeria, everyone was conformed. So, I mean, the standard was, okay, no one wants to be in trouble.
So just like me, you didn't see it as a big problem in Nigeria?
Well, it wasn't something I paid attention to. I was also very egocentric and wanted to just keep my own head.
Okay.
I didn't want to be the one to speak out and now be in trouble in Nigeria. Okay. But when I came to Europe, somehow I just lost my fears, and I was speaking, and that was how I started my own activism, because my activism started basically in Europe, although I had traces of it in Nigeria, but I could only do that on a low key. But when I started in Europe, and I began to see the way people are and how they respond towards, in fact, the things I do. So they support me once I bring results. But through the process, they are never there. In fact, through the process, I'm their problem. I'm not the one trying to solve anything for them. I am the cause of the problem they have. They forget that the problem started before me. But the fact that I put my mouth into it now, and the university or the rector is shouting the more, now I have become their problem. The typical Israelites in Egypt mindset. So that was what I saw. So I was like, oh, this is trouble. Because then I was always the culprit. Only few people saw the things that I was doing until I bring results. No support. I was always the bad guy. My own was always too much. It was until result comes. And it's only when results come that they now say, oh, Bamisaye is the nice guy. So now when they have trouble, they now know to come to me. But through the process, I stood alone. So that was when I first realized that we were in trouble. But I did not realize the magnitude until I began to look into the church sector, and you know, some of those, a majority of those were influenced by you, especially when you taught on this topic. And I began to open my eyes wider that no, this thing goes beyond the political. And for me now, I now saw it's deeply rooted in culture. But again, I haven't spent so much time with you and seeing you analyze things, not just the periphery, but to go into the deep, to the depth of why is this thing happening. I've also been able to realize that there are certain things that influence culture. There are certain things that influence and have and shape culture. And one of the biggest influences on culture in today's world is religion. So it means whatever is acceptable or not acceptable in religion will definitely, at least to a degree of 80%, at least, will definitely not be acceptable in a certain culture. And so that's why you look at Nigeria now, you see different people and different tribes, but one thing that unites them as a creed usually is religion. And they take the culture of the origin of that religion. For example, if we are Christians now, we begin to take on ourselves the culture of the Jews, the culture of the Israelites, so to say. So, and we lose our own culture in it. So I've been able to see now that, okay, yes, there's a whole lot that deals with culture here, no doubt, but in this new age, in recent times, there has been more of the influence of culture more of the influence of religion on culture. So right now, whatever we find admissible in culture is what religion has allowed it to be in most cases. So now I've been able to see that yes, in real sense, when you look at religion, it encourages silence. It makes a victim out of those who dare to speak against it. It's a stronghold that it has become something that nobody dares go against what the tenets of that religion or the leader of that religions are. And so you find that people cannot speak against religion, and as such, it does not just affect them in the sphere of religion, it affects them in the political sphere, it affects them in education, it affects them in almost every sector of life. So that's what I've been able to discover, sir. But it became clearer after you taught on the topic, the plague of silence.
Yeah, but when I began to talk about that plague of silence, everybody thought I was just going to do one message. Because what can you say?
Yeah, when you were doing this, and I said something during one of the episodes, sir. Yes. I said there's a difference between speaking and talking. So Nigerians are used to talking that they hardly speak.
Yes.
So that informs the general expectation that people were just expecting you to just talk.
Okay. Okay.
So, but when you were done with it, then all of us now realize that okay, this plague of silence is even only just the beginning of so many things to come. And so those who couldn't take it then, when you now started other series like syncretism, others, then they now know that now you are not talking, you are speaking to the very soul of these anomalies. You are speaking to the very essence of those who are slaves to this system. You are speaking to the very soul of the people who have been put under subjudice, who have been trampled upon by religion, who have been stepped upon by this very big cancer called religion.
Mountain, yes.
Yes. Who have been buried in the ignorance of religion. So it was now getting clear then that this man is not just talking. It's not just those who will do 2 minutes, 5 minutes speech and then forget about it. This man means business.
So it's not just another opportunist trying to make some noise.
Yes. and that was clear, not just because you detailed everything about plague of silence, you gave examples, you showed different scenarios, you showed different climes and different environments, you showed how it works and how plague of silence affected the generation, how plague of silence affected a particular continent, how plague of silence affected the whole world order. You showed that clearly. And you showed again how plague of silence affects even the homes. How plague of silence affects upbringing and the psychology of people growing up. My psychiatry professor once told me that all of us are a product of our childhood victimization. everything we went through in childhood, that were a product of our childhood pains. So, everything we went through that pained us in childhood was what brought us up until now. So, when you now talk about the influence of this plague of silence on homes, the fact that children are not encouraged to speak, to air their opinion, and now then it affects their psychology. And much later, in fact, because I was working on my own books, which will be out very soon, and I was doing a chapter there on questions, and I was able to recall your question, your series on plague of silence, and there I gave how, for example, sir, the Nigerian University now today, Nigerian University, what they are doing is a mass production of people who are suffering from the plague of silence. The Nigerian University will not allow you have a dissenting opinion. The Nigerian University will not allow you a different opinion to what they are doing. The Nigerian University will not allow you to protest. You dare protest. You have an opinion that is different from what the VC has like this. You are going to be rusticated.
So who are the future leaders that they are producing?
Exactly. So now, when they are now producing this people in mass who cannot even air an opinion, then they are now wondering why their salary is never increased. They are now wondering why nobody is speaking for them when things are not going well for their welfare. Who will speak for you? You have only produced people who can never talk. So now the society is full of half-baked people who cannot even have an opinion and stand up for it, who cannot stand up against certain policies. Because all through while they were in your university, what you did was subjugate them. You only made them you made them animals who cannot air opinions, who cannot talk about what they like or what they don't like. They cannot even demand their rights. So this is what the Nigerian University has produced, and that's what we have all over Nigeria.
That's a bigger problem, because the people who have been cowed like that and who have been amputated like that, they will never be able to build an effective competitive society.
That is exactly what has happened to us in Nigeria. You remember in the days of Gani Fawehinmi, when the educational system was all right, when the student union government was still vibrant. You remember those days, when students can say no to a military government. Now we are in a democratic environment. Even the student union cannot say ping. They've been manhandled, they've been bamboozled, they've been subjugated, they've been repressed and depressed and oppressed, that they don't even have a voice. So now they produced a generation of students who have grown up to be citizens who have no voice.
And who have no voice. Having no voice is one thing, but having no initiative is even worse. Because if they have been cowed like that, it means that even their ability to think critically will be questioned.
Yeah, because they will never attempt it. They will think, what's the need? To what end, eventually? So now we've been able to produce people who actually cannot use their mind, who cannot reason. You're very right in that sense.
And if you are not reasoning and thinking, there are only two evidences of education. You remember I mentioned it one time.
Well, education will go a whole lot ways. Education is like an ephemerism. What I would think is that, what I would say in that sense, I'm saying you are being nice by even linking it to education. The basis of it is being human.
Yeah, okay.
The basis of it is being human. Because it is the cortex.
That is
the cortex that separates human beings from animals.
Yes.
So when we cannot analyze, when we cannot think critically and form opinions with empirical evidence and substantial facts,
yes,
then we are not better than animals.
That's so true, because the only thing that differentiates us from animals is our thinking faculty. So if you don't think, then you are just a biomass.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So if we succeed in raising up a generation that we have succeeded in silencing, that we think we succeeded, but really we aborted our future, because a generation of people that don't question is a generation that don't think, and a generation of people that don't think, the only possession they have is body and instinct. And if the only thing you possess is instinct and body, then you are not human enough to be able to even produce or to bring about development and civilization.
Yes, sir. And that's why we can have leaders like, bad leaders like Adolf Hitler say, what a good thing it is for governments to have a people that do not think. Because they will always be repressed. Always be repressed. And so
a whole country will be turned to a slave plantation, just like the church.
Yeah, concentration camps.
Yeah, which the churches have succeeded.
Production units. So the only thing they will be doing is waking up, going to farm, produce, going to factory, produce, come back home. They will have no life. They will only be cogs in the wheels of production and nothing more. And nothing more. And that's why a wise man once said, find out who you are not allowed to criticize. Then you will realize the slave of who you have always been.
So the church is playing a very destructive role in that sense.
Wow. The church as religion is one that now has overbearing influence on every other sector. For instance, one would think that this only happens, what I explained about universities only happens in public schools. So we may even be thinking that, okay, let us exempt the church universities are doing better. But I tell you, sir, the university that the churches are building in Nigeria they are worse, They are so worse, They are worse off. Because you never achieve anything by saying you are taking away the right or freedom of expression of a people because you want to train them. That is never done. Because you never know the extent of your training unless they have the capacity to express themselves. So, for example, you have a university that does not allow phones because you want to stop pornography. No, that does not attest to anything. They will only there and do everything they've always missed. So, if the universities are actually producing the thing they think they are doing, and they're producing righteous people to the country, then why have we not been feeling their effect since the beginning of all these private institutions? Sir, a certain university, I think it was Redeemers University, if I'm not wrong, expelled a student union leader who had written his final exam and was only waiting for convocation. Why? Because he wrote an article that the university perceived was against the university and the vice chancellor. Can you imagine?
Plague of silence.
A university, an SUG leader who had written his final exam, they rusticated it. Private school.
In this Plague of Silence series that I'm doing,
yes, sir.
I mean that we are reviewing right now, I said one of the sessions I call it the culture of silence equals the culture of evil.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So if the culture of silence is what is celebrated in our society today, is that the reason why we are evil?
Yeah, you in that episode, sir, you spoke a lot about any culture that encourages silence is a culture of evil. Is a culture that breeds evil.
Is that not too harsh?
No, it's not harsh. It is the truth. That's exactly what we're talking about when we're using the examples of these universities. When we're using the example of what they have built into the people they produced into the society. Because now, once they have been conditioned to never speak about anything, once they've been conditioned to never speak about what they indeed see and are not comfortable about, the conditioning doesn't just wear off. The conditioning stays with them because that is the effect of conditioning. You can remember you've been in Russia for so long, but there was a Russian scientist named Ivan Pavlov.
Yes.
Ivan Pavlov. Yeah. Ivan Pavlov demonstrated a lot of experiments that dealt with conditioning.
Yes.
Once conditioning is done, to recondition or to remove it, it's another hard work. So that's why everything you are doing now is meeting some sort of resistance.
It's a lifelong struggle to recondition.
Another lifelong process. Because, for instance, if you want to make a dog salivate at the sound of a bell, all you need to do is bring food, it salivates. So every time you bring food, ring a bell, then it already associates it in its head that once a bell is being rung, then the food is coming. So it starts salivating. The same model works for human beings, and that's what we call positive and negative reinforcement, especially when we're talking about child development and training children. There are certain things we reinforce them, we beat them that don't do
Just
it.
like,
so once that happens in Nigeria university and educational system, where reinforcement ought to take place. Don't forget that the whole essence of going to university is not just to get education.
The ability
it's not just to receive formal and go to classroom. It's about the formation of societal principles. That is where speakers are being made. That is where economists are being made. That's why they have different clubs and societies in the university.
Most importantly, where thinkers are being produced.
Where thinkers are being made. People who shape the society. So when you have not conditioned their mind, that once you have a different opinion, that you see something that is not good, just keep quiet. Now, when these guys get to the society, that is exactly what they are going to do.
And if you don't question things in society, progress is impossible.
It's just impossible. Because decadence will be the order of the day. Because there will be no one person to stand against decadence. There will be no one person bold enough to say, no, enough is enough. Because everybody they've been trained to just keep quiet. So now evil will triumph in that society. Because if you look at, let's go back to one of the quotes you used in starting this series,
yes,
which was that of Edmund Burke.
Edmund Burke, yeah. The only thing needed for the
he said the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil,
yes,
is for good men to do nothing. So good men who do nothing are good men in art who have been conditioned to keep silent.
So they are good.
And they
are being good doesn't benefit anybody.
Who does your good benefit? And that's why a man once said that good people don't always make good leaders. So you can have this guy is very nice, who is nice, but he's going to be a disaster to the country if he ever leads. Because being good is only in your heart, it doesn't go beyond your heart. Being proactive, being active, being a man of a working conscience, being alive to society, being alive to the needs of others is another different thing. A lot of men are good. They are just good within their space. They are so good that they are of no good to anybody.
Yeah, because the only people who create and cause a difference and a change are people who act, who speak out, and express their opinions.
Yes, sir. And that's why Martin Luther King said, sir, that the ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by bad people, but the silence over that by good people.
Yes, sir.
So you find out that these climes, these cultures that encourages silence, that said don't talk, and sometimes you also in that series you drew the line, the very thin line between love and silence, because we live in a society and homes and families where we are seeing traits and things that are going wrong. People who could eventually become rapists. We have already seen the signs that this guy, the way he's going, the way he's not controlling his libido, he could be a rapist. We have already seen the signs that the way this guy is stealing little things from home, he could be a thief. We have already seen the signs that the way this guy is not responding to situations in normal way, this guy could end up being a serial killer or at the end of the day, or somebody bad to the environment. But you know what? Because we love him too much. We love him too much. We are very good, so we love him too much. We keep quiet. And this is the place where, for example, you spoke about rapes, for example, by relatives. Rapes by relatives. So, I love my brother-in-law so much that he has raped, for example, my daughter, so I don't want to say anything. So, automatically, what you've done to that lady or to that guy who was raped is that talking is bad. So even he will continue in that fashion because he was a victim who experienced silence when he actually needed someone to speak for him. So not just that, you're also at the risk of producing somebody who will be very bad to the community. Because he thinks, if someone does this and get away with it, then I could as well do it. I'm also a victim myself. So that's why a lot of perpetrators were once victims themselves. And that's why in today's world, a lot of people who have become gay among the guys, many of them were raped by men. And so there was nobody to speak against it, nobody to talk against it for them. So they just took it as norm, and that was the beginning of all of their troubles. So any culture that celebrates or encourages silence in any way, in any manner, is that culture, is that tribe, is that climb that is evil. Because to be evil does not mean you are the one in the act. In fact, sir, when gangs of thieves want to steal, they have a chain that surrounds them. The chain of number one, the person who will give them the information, the people who will plan it, the people who will execute the plan. Now, all of these people may not be doing the same thing. So you find out that the person who gave the information, or the person who saw, he could identify someone who stole but kept quiet. He is even as bad as those who stole. And that's exactly one of the things wrong in Nigeria today, because corruption has been enhanced by people who will not talk when they see corruption. By people who, they saw the very act of corruption but kept quiet. And so that's why when the federal government implemented the whistleblower policy, it was yielding some sort of fruit for them. Because now they were with that whistleblower policy, they were encouraging more people to talk. But should it have to take you getting a percentage of the money before you learn to talk? Then you find out that is not even, it was not even encouraged by a culture. It was just encouraged by egocentrism and the gain that they will make.
By greed.
Yeah, by greed. But if it were to be by culture, then wherever people see evil, they speak out. They talk. And that is how climes, nations that are known for their honesty, that was how they built it.
Now, people who are condemning me, and most of the people who are challenging what I do, are challenging this basically because they think it is against our culture to challenge an elder. And it is against our culture to question an elder. And that what I'm doing is not just anti-culture, but anti-God, and in fact they call me Antichrist right now. So, but that's why they didn't know. I know that you now understand why I had to do this series on the plague of silence, because I was preparing everybody, building a reason and an explanation for what I was going to do. Because I did this series before this whole me going out to really call out people, so that they will know that there is a philosophy behind what I'm doing, and this philosophy is God's philosophy, and it is the philosophy that leads people and nations to become great, and that there is a reason for my madness, and there is an explanation about it. It's not just that I've lost my mind. So, do you think listening to this series will really be of a great help to people right now who are confused? That, okay, he's speaking the truth. He's speaking the truth. But why should he call people's name? He's speaking the truth. Because they don't understand the power and the importance of this issue that we're addressing right now, the plague of silence. How would this series help people to really understand, because you are doing the same thing. How would it help them to understand what we are doing?
Okay. So let me say this. I will try to juxtapose two different things. One is the one you mentioned on the series while you were teaching it. And I will quote it maybe in terms of in paraphrase, or I can't remember if that was exactly how you said it, but that was what you said. You said truth must be the ultimate. I think this is where my paraphrase comes in now. Not emotions or opinion.
Yes, sir.
Truth must be the ultimate. And I was reading a post by someone online this week, and the person was saying, I'm not good at singing human praises, but Pastor Adlaja, you are my hero. And he was saying, for example, that do people think it's easy for you to have sacrificed your relationship with these highly placed people to do what you're doing? I mean, these are places you were being invited to, that you were being celebrated, and even till today, one will see that none of them have been able to come out to criticize you publicly. It shows the enormous amount of respect that they have for not just you, but also what you've been able to do over the years, and also the truth that you are speaking now. Because I mean, the moment they do that, then they would introduce you more to many of the members anyway. But is it easy to have sacrificed? Was this thing worth it? This thing you are doing now, is it worth it to have sacrificed all of the accolades you received from these people, all of the invitation? I mean, these people, you were there. All of them were very happy to associate with you. Many of them called you friend, many of them called you father, many of them called you son, many of them called you associate. They invited you to speak. I mean, some of the videos are there. At what cost would you be doing all of these things? Is it at the cost of your reputation? And that's what you said in the video. Anytime that truth is considered less to reputation, then you do not know who you are serving. Because you are either serving self or you are serving the truth. So truth must always be above reputation. Truth must always be above people's opinion of you. Truth must always be above what you feel per time. And so if the truth is what you stand for, if the truth is what you speak, it doesn't matter what you lose. It doesn't matter whose connection you lose. Posterity will always reward you. God will be very proud of you. And that's what you did. You chose the side of truth. And so God is standing by you. And even though the circumstance, the environment does not show that so many people are with you, but you know that in reality, you have the majority on your side. Even though you may be surrounded like Elisha was by so many enemies and their soldiers, but you know, because you can see that many are there that are with you now. Because the forces on the side of truth so many times are invisible, but they are always there. And so you chose to rather stay on the side of truth. You chose to stay with truth rather than human accolades. You chose to stay with truth rather than to be building some sort of reputation for yourself. You chose to stay with the truth rather than receiving their gifts and their recognition. You chose to stay with the truth. And so the truth is what matters. And in different series, you showed other people who had done the same thing like you, and those who refused to do it. And the difference was glaring. The difference was glaring. So, sir, what you said is that truth must be the ultimate. And so now, this must be the reference point for everybody who is seeing what you are doing now. And I have had conversations with a lot of people too. They're like, okay, but why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? I'm saying, okay, I said, I don't criticize the people's lives. Everything I do, and the same thing with you, sir, because I saw that from you first, is that the videos you show, it was not you that uploaded them. The videos you show, they were not private meetings. Even if they were things that were influencing the lives of other people. These were public pronouncements that was going to shape the life of at least 1 million people who have listened to it or will listen to it. So these were public stuff that were shaping the environment, that was shaping the society. And you saw this and you said, I'm teaching this, but the best way people will know is by showing them what they have also been taught. If you don't show them in clear terms, they will not know it. So, and someone is saying, but why do you have to show them? Then my question to those people are, which is more important? What are you protecting? The truth or the person who is being used, who we are using as the example to show what is not truth? So if you are protecting the truth, then you will not care about personality. But it seems to me that so many of these people, you are more interested in the ego of your pastor than in the truth. But what will set people free is not the ego of your pastor. Your pastor may be humiliated today, but if the truth is out, the truth will set everybody free, including your pastor. Because we've seen a lot of people who have been humiliated by government and forces that are against them, but the truth brought them out. The truth set them free. Even if they had to die for it, but the freedom they enjoyed in their death was even bigger. We've seen that in the case of Martin Luther King, sir.
Okay,
that guy stood for the truth, and even though he died,
why is it
even though he was assassinated, even though he was not liked by those people he stood against, the truth today makes him and puts him in the ranks of people, the greatest to ever live in America, even though he never occupied the presidential office. The truth elevated him, the truth set him free, and now he's living at the pinnacle of history. So the truth must always be important. We must always consider the truth. The question I would ask anybody is, what Pastor Sunday is teaching, is it true? If you can answer that, then forget the method. Because when you are saying is the method, people have different ways they approach things. All of the methods we've been using so far, how much result has it brought? Then a wise man said it is idiocy, it is stupid, it is foolish to keep doing something the same way and expecting a different result. The man said it is lunacy, it is craziness, I mean it is madness that we keep doing the same thing with the same method and we expect a different result. Every revolution that has taken place in history did not take place on a subtle note, did not take place by people doing Jamaica or massaging the ego of the oppressor. No, they took place by a resolution. People were resolute and stood for something. So this is so method, but what we should be very concerned about is what is teaching. Is it true? If it's true, then let truth be the supremacy, not the ego that is being bruised or the feathers that are being ruffled.
But what about why will you think our generation and our even Christians have lost the value of the truth? People don't know that the truth is paramount anymore. People might still be thinking the truth is absolute. People might even still be thinking the truth is universal, but very few people even consider or live their life by the standard of the truth being paramount to every other thing, including their own personal gains. It's like personal gain has been elevated above the truth. So why is it that people could be Christians or so-called Christians and not be aware of the importance and the supremacy of the truth? Why? Is it because people don't preach about it? Or is it because, is it not popular? Is it a rare concept or a message? Help me out in that one.
Yes, sir. So I think science can explain that, sir. There's something called, especially in psychiatry and those who know neurology and psychology in any way of those, or those who have studied anthropology in some sort, they understand something called epicritical living and hypocritical or subcortex living. So epicritical is also like cortical living. So the cortex, as I've explained earlier, is only the cortex that can recognize truth, because it is the cortex that deals with ethics and behavior and what is right or what is not. So only the cortex can recognize truth. Only the cortex can recognize ideals. When we're talking about morals, only the cortex does that. Only the cortex recognizes that. Now, when it comes to instincts, not truth now, just instincts, that is subcortical. Every other thing below the cortex can do that. So why is it that people do not understand or realize the paramountness of truth? It is because, by and large, the people you see as humans on the streets today are, in the real sense, and in most cases, they are not humans. These are people who have been dehumanized. And so by what we call the theory of use and disuse, the cortical structure is not working. So they are only living on the basis of animals, on the basis of instinct, on the basis of just response and reactions to things. So they cannot necessarily recognize truth when it is being spoken. So not to talk less about the fact that it is what is paramount. So, and that is what you find out, that this is what religion keeps doing. It keeps dehumanizing people. Now, in the religious concept, how does this work? God created man. Then he created man in his own image and gave man dominion over everything, but not over man. God never asked man to dominate man. So, in the religious context, there is a man now who has now come to dominate other men. In the name of calling himself bishop, in the name of calling himself GO, in the name of calling himself apostle, in the name of calling himself whatsoever title. So every other man are worshipping that one man. Every other man are submitted to that same man. Every other man are being subjugated to to pay obeisance to that one man. So anything that makes any man go underneath another man means that he has been placed to the level of not being man. So he has been dehumanized, because the only man left in this case is the man who all of them are under. So that is the structure that religion brings these days, that there is God and an assistant God or a sub-God who is a man, and then there are men. But in real case, what has happened is that there is now a God and there is a man, because the best of men is a man. And so there is a man and others are just animals. Really? How do I know this? The Bible says, and God breathed into man and he became a living soul. So for every man who is not a living soul, he is not better than an animal. He is not better than an animal, because animals too, they breathe. Animals eat. Animals, they produce. Animals, some of them, they even walk. So the same thing that man will be doing, but he never lives in dominion, because he has been subjugated by another man. So he cannot really understand aesthetics. He cannot really understand truth. He cannot really understand what the paramountness of truth, because he himself is not a man. He's not a man. So that is what religion, that's what it does now. Keep producing people who are no longer humans. So they are not men, they are mouses. Or at least you can call them persons, but they are not personalities. But God is interested in man, God. Man, God. Man, God. He does not want an interference. He does not want an intermediary. He does not want anyone to connect with him. God is not in need of a third party. God can connect with you just as you are. Just as you are. And I made mention of this, even in the Old Testament, when the Spirit of God was not with him. A certain man was named Jabesh. And in the story of Jabesh, I saw a man that said, Lord, change my situation and enlarge my coast. In that story, I was amazed, because in those days, you had to go through a priest. In those days, to hear from God, you have to go to a prophet. How come is it that this man, even in the days that the Spirit was not upon, he was not a priest, he was not a prophet, but he could cry out to God and God could hear him? I was just imagining. Then how much more those of us who are in this age, not to know that God is already in us, God has made us men because he has created us in his image, and nobody is better than you. Nobody can relate with God better than you. God is not interested in hearing anybody better than you. God is not interested in listening to another person before he listens to you. God is not interested in someone coming to represent you. God is no longer interested in that. And that's why in this dispensation, there is no office called the office of the priest. There is no ministry called the ministry of the priest. So, but what are they doing now, sir? Now we have fivefold ministry, sir. We have priests, we have prophets, teachers, apostles, and evangelists. Do you know, sir, that one person who has been called into just one of these offices now, what he does is that he does not even pay attention to what is the calling of this fivefold ministry. You know what he does, sir? He reverts to the old. And you know, sir, he does not now even pick one ministry in the old. Because in the old ministries, we have threefold ministry, which was king, priest, and prophet. Yeah. So he now takes everything together. He is now the king, he is the priest, and he is the prophet. Even in the time of the old, only about 2 people ever had the 3 ministries together. Only about 2. There were not more. So this guy now becomes the king of the people. He becomes their prophet. He becomes their priest. Now, what does a prophet do? A prophet hears from God and gives to the people. So the people never hear from God directly. Those were the days when they were not men, because God was not dwelling in them. Now, what does a priest do? A priest hears from the people and presents it to God. Those were the days when men could not access God. They were not men. They were just living on earth because God was not relating with them. What does a king do? A king lords over the people. And that was why God was opposed initially to the idea of Israel having a king, because God directly wanted to be their king. That's why God never wanted Israel to have a king, because God never supported the idea of a man being king over another man. But when they said they wanted it, and know that God does not force anything over men on earth, He gave it to them. So in this age now, you now have people who have been called to one ministry in the fivefold ministry, who are now taking over the three folds. So now what they have done when you do that is that you lord over the people, you never let them have direct access to God. In the general sense, to break everything down, what you've just successfully done is dehumanize them. But you know what, sir? Just like Isaiah said, chapter 60. He says, for Zion's sake, I will not keep silent. For Jerusalem's sake, I will not remain silent till our vindication shines out like the dawn, and our salvation like a burning torch. So this is what you've seen. You've seen an evil under the sun. You've seen this evil under the sun. And you are saying you will not keep silent. And I'm very proud. I am very happy to be a part of that team that is speaking out for the liberation of Zion, that is speaking out for the proclamation of the independence of Jerusalem. And in this case, we mean the church, we mean the people.
Tell them the series that we are reviewing now and where they can find it.
Sir?
Tell our people, our viewers, the series we are reviewing and where they can find it.
Oh, yes. So the series we are reviewing now is called the Plague of Silence. The Plague of Silence. So you can find it on YouTube. If you go to Dr. Sunday Adelaja, so you can just type Sunday Adelaja on YouTube. Then you see his book here, his library on YouTube, and then you can search
Sunday Adelaja official.
Okay. Then you can see the different series is done, or you could just type Plague of Silence Sunday Adelaja on YouTube. Then it will bring it out for you, and I think it will be a very interesting watch. At least, not just will it inspire you to always speak, it will also let you understand the basis of everything that we are doing here, and everything Pastor Sunday is doing. It's not that he hates the people, it's just that he loves the people too much, that he wants the mandate of God to be fulfilled over them in his own age. He is one who has said, as long as I am alive, God has found a vessel. He is one who has said, as long as I am alive, evil will not triumph. He is one who has said, as long as I am here, if it is only one person who is going to speak, then I'm ready to be that one person. Then you understand why the man has certainly went mad, has certainly gone mad. And mad in this case is making a difference.
What do you think? What are the points you mentioned in the beginning, the main points that I'm making, I was making in the teaching, where plague of silence has, really, been established, and how it has plagued us everywhere, from the family to the school to the, all those areas. And can you, go back to that aspect again?
Yes, sir. So first of all, let's start from the family. When elders are talking, children are never allowed to air their opinion. And so in this case, they never say anything. In fact, we've seen cases where a child was raped, was molested, but because every time she wants to talk, they always tell her to keep quiet. So in this case now, she wants to talk, but she is thinking of how her parents will react to that. So she kept it to herself. We've seen cases where a child saw something that was going to happen, maybe a gas leaking, and she's thinking, if I go and tell my parents like this, they will shout or scream at me, So in that case, she keeps silent until the whole house got burnt. But she saw it. So when we in the family do not allow our children express themselves, then what we are doing is that we are building in them a very wrong self-concept. And people who develop with wrong self-concept never speak when it matters. They never speak where it matters. They never speak in situations that warrant their opinion. They never speak in places that cry for their opinion. They never speak in events that demand for their voice. Why? Because they were brought up with a wrong self-concept. So please, my appeal to parents is encourage your children to speak. That's the way you can help them express themselves. So if they express themselves, even you can be able to see what you need to help them with, what you need to help correct, But if they see you and they are scared to express themselves, I think that is not just bad parenting, but you are building a bad self-concept in that child, and that child will be a part of the society, and the society will never be good for it. So again, another sector is the school. The school does not allow people talk. You just must allow. You just must conform. Do you know what it is like, sir, in Nigerian school? Teacher is teaching. Oh, do you understand? Everybody says yes. But I have been in so many of those that, do you understand? Really, I did not understand anything. But I will do what? I will say yes. So how do you expect me to pass? How do you expect me to know? Why? Because if I say I don't understand, the first knock I am going to receive like this, they are going to say you are a dollar, you are this, you are that. It took some of us to come abroad and realize. In fact, the first time it happened to me, actually, to be truthful, was in Nigeria, in a private school. I had missed about 13 weeks while I was processing, because I was in a medical school before I came to Ukraine. So I had missed 13 weeks of resumption because I was processing my visa to Ukraine. So when it was not like, it wasn't clicking, they were delaying me, I just had to go resume school. And there was this teacher who was teaching physiology then, and I went to her and said, I have missed so and so week. And she told me that, don't worry, just come to my office anytime, I am going to teach you personally everything. So if you know how my self-esteem, my self-worth rose up, I felt important. I felt like someone could see me. I felt like I could actually, because what I was even going to meet her for is to give me the download of the materials that I need to go and study. But she said, come, I will teach you. Now, but I have been in school all those while. I could never say I don't understand. Nobody was going to listen to me. Then many of us came abroad and we realized that you don't understand like this. It's either the teacher takes time to explain to you or just tells you to read behind after the lesson and explain to you. You have a different opinion, you can raise up your hand here abroad. You can raise up your hand and say, sir, I disagree. And the teacher will ask you, okay, explain, what do you mean? Or why do you disagree? I'm interested in your opinion. And so many times we've seen cases where the student was right and the teacher will say, well, you're right. I did not see it in that light. You understand? But in Nigeria, you dare not say, I don't understand. You dare not have a different opinion from your teacher. Who are you? So this has now brewed and raised people in the society who cannot hear dissenting voices, who cannot share differing opinions, who cannot speak against what they do not accept and what they do not like. So that's another sector. Another sector is in entertainment industry, and now you will be seeing something like Me Too, and there's a movement called Me Too in the entertainment industry, especially in Hollywood, and this is where most ladies are speaking against sexual harassment. But we find out that for so long, that industry was suffering from what we are talking about now, the plague of silence. A lot of women have been molested and sexually assaulted, and they could not speak for ages. But now, they are speaking. They are realizing that you must talk. And we've had people of high profile who have been disgraced out of office because of this thing. But imagine for how long the culture continued. That before, as a woman, before you can get a role, you have to sleep with the director. But it should not be like that. Your talent should be the same. And this culture of silence has also affected, the women most especially. If not for the fact that many people now have taken feminism to a whole different dimension, I tell you that all of us should be feminists. We should all be feminists. Because what does feminism in its own essence mean? It means people are standing against the culture of silence that has gagged women for so long. that has put women behind the back seat of development, that has relegated the importance of women. But really, women are just, the only difference is gender, because the soul, the spirit has no gender. It's only this body that has gender. A woman could be as strong-willed as a man. A woman could have the same or even a better emotional intelligence as a man. So the whole concept of feminism is speaking also against the plague of silence that have put them in the background for too long. That we've thought, and all of us have agreed to it, that the role of women is domestic. How shallow can we be? And the only reason why we are that shallow, or we've come to be that shallow, is because the plague of silence in that instant went for too long. And that is why we must keep speaking, we must keep talking about these things. We must keep talking about these things. And again, the religious sector.
In church.
Sir?
In church.
Yeah, the religious sector. One of the most abused phrases is, thou shalt not touch the anointed. Touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. Now you see, with such statement, you see, for me, I see a process of dehumanizing. Because what they have basically told you with that statement is that you are not anointed and you are a second-class citizen.
Subhuman.
Yeah, you are second class. You are not up to that. But there's only one class of human, and that is human. So when they tell you that you are not in that level, that means you are not human at all. And so the question will be, who is the anointed? But I read in the prophecy of Joel that in the last days I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. I read in the New Testament that greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. I read that you are a peculiar people, a royal priesthood, a chosen generation. I read somewhere in Peter's, 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 3, that we have been called to be a partaker of the divine nature. So, excuse me, who are you talking about? Who is the anointed now? Is it you? You have missed it. Because the anointing was never monopolized for one man or a set of people. The anointing is for all. God has anointed every man to his own sphere of influence. And so, to ever think that the sphere of influence, or the only way to change Nigeria, or to change Africa, or to change your world, is to be behind the pulpit or to be in politics, you, my dear, are the biggest, we'll call it ignoramus or ignorant person or a fool of all time. There are spheres of influence that every one of us have been anointed to impact, ranging, sir, from politics to economics to craft making to designing to building to engineering to geology, different places where we have been anointed to manifest the glory of God. And so it's an anomaly. It's an anomaly of not just nature, but also the divine. To think that the only one who is anointed is the one who is standing behind the pulpit. And you see again, sir, the whole concept of altar. I think we've addressed that in paganism and syncretism series. The whole concept of altar that we have in the church, we have an altar, is not just paganistic, it is antichrist. Because what Christ came to do was to link the pew and the pulpit, to link the altar and the congregation, the inner room and the inner court and the Holy of Holies and then the outer court, to link everything together so everything becomes where God is. But now what we now have is we have altars that only specific people, these anointed people, can come into. So now they've made themselves big, that you are too small and you must never speak. But in the real sense, you have been anointed, and in your anointing, you have been made. Certain truths and secrets have been revealed to you. that when you get those truths and you get those secrets, you must speak. Because it was never about them, it was about what God said to you. So this particular mindset is an inferiority complex. And that was what killed the young prophet in the old times. The inferiority complex of thinking that another person is better than you. If God gave you a message, you must speak without fear or favor. Yoruba people have an adage. They said it is the one who sent us that we fear, not the one who we have to deliver to. So if I have a message that concerns Adeboye today, I am going to speak without fear or favor. If I have a message that speaks to Bishop Oyedepo today, I am going to speak without fear or favor. Because what I am most concerned about is, what I am saying, is it the truth? What I am saying, is it within the ramifications of the will of God in this time? What I am saying, is it what God wants me to say as of now? That's what I am concerned about. And if those parameters are met, I don't care whose ox is God. Because no personality is bigger than God. And no personality is bigger than me before God.
So what about all these challenges that we are having in Nigeria right now? The most famous people who are really voicing this out now is that the phrase, who is a half caste with a white mother, and then myself, who has lived in out of Nigeria for 30 years. But even the Nigerians who are outside of Nigeria, but you don't hear their voice so tall and so high back in Nigeria, especially the 150 million Nigerians back at home. Everybody is silent, especially against this evil that is being perpetrated in the churches. So is that how strong the plague of silence in our churches?
Yeah, the plague of silence is so strong in a country like Nigeria. I mean, that's what all of us were born into, and only a few of us have been able to break loose. And so gradually, our people will get into it. And like we've highlighted, many of these people, they fear religious leaders, and so we hardly speak against these people. They fear political leaders, and so we hardly speak against these people. And those who don't even fear these people, they fear consequences of their actions, because the truth becomes that you can speak the truth and die. You can be humiliated for the truth you speak. But the question will be, what do you fear more? The absence of truth or your life? So those who have made impact, those who have been recorded in history to have made impact, are those who fear who do not fear unto death.
They've got to elevate the truth higher than their lives.
Because until you find the truth to die for, then there's no reason to live. Until you find something worth dying for, a truth, a mission worth dying for, then living is useless. There's no need to live. So the calling now that we have is to liberate our people. And everyone who has been liberated, the mark of your liberation is that you also are going to liberate another person. Because what is the use of your liberation if you are still sitting in captivity and not liberating other people? So the plague of silence is so strong in Nigeria, sir. And it's just that this is a new wave, this is a new revolution, and we have come to that stage, sir, that when truth is activated, it prevails. So the truth is growing mightily in Nigeria, it's going to different corners. Yes, there are going to be some resistance, and we are seeing them. I believe we've not seen the last of them, but the truth is going to prevail, because the truth always produces after its kind. And no matter how long, there's a Yoruba saying that says, even if light travels for 20 years, the truth will catch up.
Yeah, but someone like you, Victor, you, Anu, and other people on DSA family, I think this might be the most vocal people right now, right? Apart from a few atheists that are also speaking out loud. You know, the disciples of Daddy Freeze, maybe, and then DSA family people are the people who are really confronting the plague of silence, to the best of my knowledge. I don't know, maybe there are more people there, but most people who are talking Nigeria are just talking politics and are doing populism instead of actually exposing the evil of this plague of silence in the society and in religious circles in particular. So you say the truth will always give birth to it.
Yeah, the truth. Yeah, the truth will always give birth to its kind. And the beauty about enlightenment, sir, is that when people are enlightened, it may take a while, because everything is in stages of development. But when there's a certain man who has been enlightened and does not fear unto death to run with that vision of his enlightenment, he's always going to influence. And we've seen that in Martin Luther King. We've seen that in this Indian man, Mahatma Gandhi. We've seen that in Mandela. People who held on to certain truths and ran with it. Yes, it may take ages, it may take time, but the truths will prevail.
Yeah, a lot of people are raising
we have been enlightened by the truth, and so we can do no other. We just can do no other. This is what we stand upon.
A lot of people say they are missing Mayowa already.
Yeah, Mayowa is a voice. Because Mayowa is so fearless, and she has no, she's not trying to be diplomatic. She just says it as it is. Mayowa is that one person who went at her work with the mindset of I have nothing to lose, nothing else to lose. So I mean, I'm already dead. So you can't kill me. So there's a saying that says, "He who is down fears no fall." I'm already grounded in Jesus, so there's no way I can fall. So Mayowa, I hope she comes back very soon to continue what she's doing. She's done a very massive work, and a lot of people have been able to at least resonate. And one thing I've been able to see, and this is why I encourage every other person to speak. There are certain people, sir, that somehow, probably because of what they've heard about you somehow before, they don't want to listen to Dr. Sunday. But when Bamisaye Victor is saying it, they listen. Some of them think also, not even that they don't want to listen to you, because of your caliber, they also put you in the light of how those guys are. And so they want to listen to someone who they think they can ask questions. So they are thinking, if I listen to him now, I can't ask, they don't ask all these geos questions. So they don't come. So, but when Bamisaye Victor is doing a show now, they know, oh, this one is still growing up. I can ask him questions. So they listen to me. So what am I saying? There are different people like that in our sphere of contact, who necessarily will not even know Pastor Sunday, who probably have read one or two things, or somehow have some personal this thing that they don't want to listen to him, or who think that he's too big to be approached, although they don't know that this man is the simplest person to approach. But they know that they can approach you, they know they can ask you questions, and so that is why even you must speak, even you must talk, even you must raise your voice, you must speak against this silence, and let us break the place.
Because with Mayowa, all of them will call her and write all kind of things against her and talk all kind of things against her, all kind of things, but they will not show up during my own program to challenge or to write.
There was the time I was even looking, I was observing, right? On my watch show, there will even be more views than when you come in the evening.
Yes.
So that just shows the influence of losing our own self, forget about your reputation, and just stand for the truth. And I'll tell you, sir, between last year and now that I've started this series, in fact, if I post a picture on Facebook now, and let's say I have 100 engagements, I will tell you, sir, 98% of those are people who have just met in this few times. It's like I never knew anybody all my life. Why? Because by the time I started speaking, then I was standing up for something different. I was cut out from the ordinary. So there were a lot of people who were indifferent about me. And so because they were indifferent about me, there was no really mark for what I was doing. But when those who were indifferent about me kept short, and I mean, they some of them even unfriended me, some of them they deleted my number, some of them. In fact, one people said, because I was speaking against, I was speaking against this middleman, and I was using his pastor Apostle Suleiman's video. Then they said, "Who are you? Who are you to be saying all of these things? What have you achieved in life? You are not married. You don't have car. You don't even have a job. You don't even have money. So what are you saying? Who are you to be talking all of these things?" I said, okay. So this is even this one's problem. That I don't have money, I don't have a wife, is even your problem, all of this. Not even the substance of what I'm saying. So I have lost friends, I have lost people, but what has happened is that the people who I have lost were people who were indifferent to me anyways. But the people who I have gained, even those who actually do not stand for what I'm saying, but I always even come in to comment against it, now I am something to them. Till one day, maybe they will be convinced enough. But I have to be consistent to the truth that I know. And I have to stand against it, not minding the reputation. Not minding the reputation that it brings.
What about
if I will lose friends, let me lose.
What about your family or relatives or people who were your friends? While some people calling you to express their concerns that you are coming under negative influence of Pastor Sunday.
Well, yeah, a lot. Some of them,
or maybe just telling you to be careful.
Yeah, some of them thought that. Some of them were telling me to be careful. In fact, in Ukraine, like this, there are some pastors who have told their people, right, that they should never listen to me. They told their members that they should go and block me.
And you used to be their president. even though you used to be their president.
Yeah, yes. Then they should go and block me. And the good thing against that is that doing things like this and standing up for something, it takes away from your life people who will never stand up when it really matters. People will never show up when it really matters. So when the people you always have around now are people who will stand up when it matters. You will always see them. And there are quite a number of people who write and say, I want you to mentor me, I want you to do this. And within the first 5 sentences, I'm always telling them, I'm not sure you are going to stay. Especially the religious ones, saying, I'm not sure you are going to stay. I'm not sure you are going to stay. And I've been proved right at least for 60% of the time. Only about 40% of them actually eventually stay. Some of them, it's after the first 2 this thing. When I'm confronting their religious mindset, I say, man of God, I think I need to think about this thing. Okay, that's okay. And you're not going to stay. So you're only surprising me. The only surprise I'm going to have is if you actually stay. So because I know what I'm going to do, what I'm doing to restore you back to the settings of manhood that you ought to have, is going to be very difficult for you to unlearn those things that you've always known.
But so, people don't know that you only start the statement you made that it's like you never knew anybody before.
It's like I'm telling you.
And the reason is because when you overcome the plague of silence in your life and you begin to stand for something that you are ready to die for, that is when you begin to live.
Yes.
You begin to live when you begin to stand for something.
Yes, sir. That's very true, sir. We must always stand for something. So there are 3 people I would like to mention before we end today, and that's Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
Yes.
The guy who left America to go stand against Nazi. He left his comfort. I mean, this guy was doing so well. I mean, he was already doing very well for himself. But he saw what was going wrong in his own country. And he went and he was teaching against all of those. He was teaching against all of those. He was speaking up until they took him and killed him. But again, till today, he is very well known. He is very well known. What he stood for is respected. It has become a legacy. It has become a legacy. Yes, he lost his life, but he stood up.
But the millions who have not lost their life, who are still alive, we don't even know them. It's more famous than the one. He who is dead is more important than the one who is alive.
Yes, sir. Because he stood up against the evil of his time. Another person who I found very instructive, sir, I will make his quote, sir, in a paraphrased statement. He says, first they came for the socialist. I did not speak up because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the Jews. I did not speak up because I was not a Jew. They came for the capitalist. I did not speak up because I was not a capitalist. It was just mentioned different people they came for. And he did not speak up because it did not belong to their category. He said, then they came for me. And there was no one left to speak for me. This was the guy who made a pact with Adolf Hitler. that don't worry, you can be doing what you are doing, but don't come for my people. And Adolf Hitler said, okay.
And he was a pastor. No? He was a pastor.
He was a pastor. Adolf Hitler said, okay, I've heard you. I won't come for your people. I will just be doing what I'm doing here. It's just here.
I'll be killing other people.
I'll be killing smart. I won't come for your people. Then Adolf Hitler was killing people. The guy kept quiet. Adolf Hitler was killing. The guy kept quiet. Okay, for those of you who may be wondering, his name is Martin Niemöller. Martin Niemöller kept quiet because Adolf was not coming for his people. Adolf was just killing the Jews, killing the socialists, killing different people. But one day, they just besieged him and took him like that. That consecration camp, he went there. That was when they realized that, I've made a mistake. Then this is what he says, He says, I find myself wondering about that too. When they asked him why he supported the Nazi. He says, I find myself wondering about that too. I wonder about it as much as I regret it. Still, it is true that Hitler betrayed me. I had an audience with him as a representative of the Protestant church shortly before he became chancellor in 1932. Hitler promised me on his word of honor to protect the church and not to issue any anti-church laws. He also agreed not to allow pogroms against the Jews, assuring me as follows: there will be restrictions against the Jews, but there will be no ghettos, no pogroms in Germany. So the guy was so assured, that, okay, they are going to make life hell, but they won't kill them back. So he kept quiet, as long as he was able to cut a deal for the church. And that's the same thing that is happening in most of these churches today. Listen, Pastor Sunday Adelaja has never been, will never be under the undue influence of these pastors. He will never be a victim of these pastors. But why is he speaking out? Why is he speaking out? That must be the question. Because one day, if you cannot answer that too for yourself, you will just realize that yes, you are not a victim now, but let me tell you, you may not be a victim now when the process is going on, but sooner or later, you are going to be a victim of the production of these people. Because one day, there will be an important thing you want someone to speak against, and you will be the lone voice, because you would have people who have been dehumanized and cannot hold opinions. You will just find out that you have a lot of bodies around, but you have nobody. And that is the most painful thing, sir. It is the most painful thing that you can see you all around you, there are bodies, but there is nobody. So it is very painful that you can count, this is this person, but when for what actually matters, there is nobody. And that is what happens when you refuse to speak when it does matter. Because very soon you will have a lot of bodies around you, but there will be nobody around you. So that's why you must speak. You must speak up for the love of the people. You must speak up for the love of God. You must speak up because that is what God expects you to do, to be an agent of liberation to your world. And that's what scripture says, that the earnest expectations of the creature awaited the manifestations of the sons of God. So we who are the sons of God are those who have been sent to manifest, so that these ones can be delivered into the glorious liberty of the sons of God. So I, who now have a good self-concept as a son of God, how dare I not speak? How dare I keep quiet? How dare I remain silent? How dare I live under the auspices of the plague of silence? I dealt with the vestiges of the plague of silence long ago. And I can tell you, I mean bold to say it, and I am proud to say it, that I am a voice of liberation to this generation. I mean bold to say it, and I'm proud to say it anywhere, that I have been liberated, I have been enlightened, and this I can do, and I can do no other, but to speak when it matters. To speak where it matters. To speak in circumstances and situations that demands for a voice. and this is one of the failures of the youth in these days. We now have people who have no voice. We have people who have no voice, but yet they have a choice. So now there's a choice, but there's no voice and there's no voice. But if only we can deal with the plague of silence, then we would have a generation that can use their voice to voice their choice.
Beautiful. When does your program come out and how frequent?
Yeah, my program is on Tuesday every week. So at least we are still running the series.
What is it?
The series we are running now is why Nigeria must urgently stand against our religious leaders. But very soon, probably next month.
Do you show videos?
Yes, I show videos where it matters. Okay. I show videos to explain my point.
Okay.
But from probably next month, I will start a series on my book called Rebirth. How values can transform a nation as complex as Nigeria. So I'm going to start that will be from next month, though, in April, where I will start showing different aspects of that book and show you in clear terms videos how Nigeria can be rebirthed, how Nigeria can be regenerated. And you will see what is wrong. I will show you the anomalies. I will show you what contributes to it, and I will show you exactly what needs to be done. Because once I realized after reading your book, Nigeria and the Leadership Question, and after applying your principle of going in depth, I feel like I can solve the problem of any country in the world. And so I started with
Nigeria.
Yeah, so I started with Nigeria, and I started with the value systems. Very soon I'm going to go into economics, but that's not now. Maybe that will be for next year. I'll go into economics, and I will also study how and show exactly the models in the Nigerian context. Although I know you have written books on it, but I'm going to study and conceptualize it for myself. Maybe I can bring out a vetoism out of that.
So how do people find you?
People can find me on Facebook. Bamisaye Victor is my name on Facebook. I think my picture is quite idiosyncratic, so you can just recognize it when you see it. So Bamisaye Victor on Facebook, and I'm also on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on almost all the social media. So I'm quite social media friendly. So you can find me.
Now,
just write my name, Bamisaye Victor.
Thank you so much, Victor. Now, for those people who are watching, you have probably admired Victor, and I want to give you a chance to grow yourself and to remake yourself, to repackage yourself, and to recreate your life by joining my free mentorship program. I started this free mentorship program for everybody. I know how much it's an internet thing. It's an online free mentorship program. That kind of mentorship program is costing my friend John Maxwell is doing it for $5,000, and Mountain of Fire in Nigeria is doing it every session. Every program is 300 and something pounds. So a lot of people are taking money for it, but we are doing it for free. It's an opportunity for you to recreate yourself and understand and redefine your Christianity, and get the junks and and detox yourself. So the way to join the mentorship program is to go to www.sundayadelajablog.com/mentorship. sundayadelajablog.com/mentorship. And for those of you who want to join the Nigerian movement, the Nigerian transformation movement, you need to go to the same blog, sundayadelajablog.com/Nigeria. And for those of you who want to come here for the HMT in April, is sundayadelajablog.com/visit. Then for those of you who want to get my books, is sundayadelajablog.com/books. And let me talking about the books, let me talk to you about a few of the books that will really help you out. This book here is called Your Greatness is Proportional. Crisis makes demand. Value your crisis. This book will help you to turn your crisis into profit. The next book here is one of the most popular books for Africans and Christians. It's called When to Pray, When Not to Pray, When to Stop Praying. When to pray, when not to pray, when to stop praying. then our problem in Nigeria and Africans is a thinking problem. That's our problem. We have switched our brains off. Thinking problem. So that's why I wrote this book. Rid yourself of shallow-mindedness. Rid yourself of shallow-mindedness. Create solution for your world. So this book will help you to begin to learn to think. For people who are in ministry, pastors or just Christians, for Christians, this book, Pastor Face Your Calling, would allow you to set yourself free from the bondage of religiosity that they have placed upon you. This book is how to get deliverance from the religiosity. This is deliverance from religion here. It will set you free. You know, people tell you face your calling, stay in church. This book is the answer for you, especially for pastors and every minister. Then, for people who are complaining, we have Nigerians, especially in diaspora, who are always complaining. Oh, things are not working for me. Oh, this problem, that problem. Well, this book, Why Am I Unlucky? Is your answer. Everybody is thinking they are unlucky because some demons are after them, some spirits, some witchcraft, some, generational curses. Well, get the book and find your answer. This is another answer right here. The mountain of ignorance. The mountain of ignorance. This is a big, big problem that we have in our continent. And we need to summon that mountain. Mountain of ignorance. And then, finally, how to build, how to transform and build a civilized nation. This is the biggest book I've written yet in English. How to build and transform, how to transform and build a civilized nation. This is for if you really have a burden for your country, if you want to change your country, this is the book for you. Then, only God can save Nigeria. What a myth. It's a myth to think that only God can save any country. Get it to know how to save your country. Well, in the next 30 minutes, I'm supposed to come back and do a live broadcast and with a new series, the Gospel of Prosperity, the Prosperity Gospel, and the God of Mammon. Have you been able to listen to this new series?
I followed a little, sir.
You followed it?
I followed.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you'll be here this weekend, eh?
Yeah, I'll be on Saturday.
Is that when we are doing Dear Doctor?
Yeah, we have Dear Doctor Sunday on Saturday.
On Saturday. All right. Thank you.
And this time next week, we also have Dear Doctor Sunday.
On Thursday.
Yeah, this time next week. Thursday next week.
Okay. Well, you've done so well. The Plague of Silence, people have not been watching that. People don't even know what to expect from it. People don't know what it is. Yeah, they don't know what it's inside.
I think people should go back and watch it. People should go back and watch it. And I would like to end with this quote from Martin Luther King. He said, there comes a time when silence is betrayal. And I would add to this myself that silence gives consent not just to the act, but also to its continuity. So if we keep silent, we are not just encouraging what is happening, we also say it should continue. So, and at that point, silence has become betrayal. And so you can find out that you are betraying a whole nation. You are betraying a whole generation by your silence.
Well, the way to get the program is to go to YouTube.
Yes.
YouTube, and just write Sunday Adelaja Official. When you get there, go to the home page. You can stream down and you get to the Plague of Silence. Or just go to YouTube and write Sunday Adelaja Plague of Silence, and you will see, you will see the whole series there. Or just write series Plague of Silence series. Then the whole thing will come out for you. Well, Victor, you've done so well. I'm sure you will read the comments and people will tell you, you will read through there, that this topic is you've really given it justice. Yeah. Because this one, I personally think that every Nigerian must listen to this topic. Every Nigerian. Because until we overcome the Plague of Silence, we are going nowhere. Thank you so much. And we'll see you in 30 minutes.